Well, Peter Mathews is a professor of political science at Cypress College in California and author of Dollar Democracy. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning. How are you, Faye?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
Very well, thank you.
Now, the White House spokesman Sean Spicer says Mr. Trump maintains his claims that there was a tap. Why would they continue to stick to that when we've been told there is zero evidence?
Well, I think there's more to it than this. It must have been a counterattack to make this claim in order to deflect from some of the other things that were going on in the Trump White House and in the policymaking process. I believe that he's going to continue doing this. It's a pattern that President Trump has done before, to make claims and then back down slightly and then bring it in from a different angle. It's almost like political jiu-jitsu or something like that, quite athletic. But it's really a disservice to democracy, because I think that we need to have people talking more in a straightforward manner as to what the truth is, what the facts are, what happened exactly, if it did happen. If it didn't happen, just be clear and say, look, we have no proof of this. We may suspect it, but no proof. So don't claim that there's proof and that proof is coming in the near future if there isn't any. So, we have to wait and see how this will play out, because both the Intelligence Committee chair, as you know, in the Senate and the House, Senator Richard Burr and Congressman Devin Nunes, have both said that their research showed there was no evidence of any wiretap.
Does making a claim like this damage Donald Trump's reputation in any way? You mentioned a pattern there, or have we come to expect it?
Well, we may expect it, but it's still very damaging in terms of reputation. Because to be a political leader in the world, especially of the largest economy in the world and one of the most influential countries, maybe the most influential country, you need to have credibility with other people in the world, other leaders, other people, regular populations of the world, that what you say is true and that you're trying to do the best to help your country and to help the world and help your country get along in the world. When someone goes back and forth and all over the place with certain claims and then backtracks on them and then comes forward with another claim, this is a loss of credibility, and it really will weaken his leadership. It might shore him up temporarily with his base of very hardcore supporters who put him in office with 3 million votes less than Hillary Clinton, popular votes, but he won the electoral vote. But I'm not sure why he's still going after that base when he needs to expand his support if he wants to even consider getting reelected or accomplishing policies that have to be done, very serious policies in the world. Not to mention his budget that he came up with, which is quite devastating to a lot of programs that were very important for America and the world. Besides the Environmental Protection Agency, there were other education cuts. There were cuts in so many other areas, and instead he wants to increase the defense budget by $54 billion when we have the largest single defense budget in the entire world of all the world's 198 countries or so. So we have to ask him, what is his credibility quotient? And how long can he hang on like this? I really would urge him to be more straightforward and honest about his claims and provide evidence so people besides his core supporters can start to believe him. It's very important.
We talked, you mentioned the US budget. We've been talking about it tonight as well. You mentioned some of the parts of that budget. Is there a highlight and indeed a low light for you?
Yes, the State Department and the development programs that come from State Department for non-military diplomatic work with other countries has been cut by 29%. The Environmental Protection Agency cut by 31%. Education by 14%, and housing and urban development, which is very important for cities, cut by 12%. So these are huge cuts, while the defense budget is being increased, the base defense budget by about 10%, and you have Homeland Security by 7% increase. And those are areas which I know the veterans affairs are very important, but Homeland Security and defense alone, are getting so much of money, and we don't defend this country only by military means. We need soft power, which will bring in the goodwill of the other countries in the world and the cooperation in the fight against terrorism, but also in the fight for economic development, which will keep countries safer, such as ours, if we would help with that in a positive way. So I think it's a completely lopsided budget that is going to devastate a lot of social programs. It will put a lot of people off the healthcare rolls, for example, and hurt seniors in terms of healthcare coverage. It's going to cut back on some after-school programs for young children who are in the inner city and the low-income areas. That's a horrendously short-sighted budget, while spending money on more military equipment that we don't even need or that sometimes don't even work. In fact, my book, Dollar Democracy, has Chapter 8, which is called Waste, Fraud, and Abuse in the Military-Industrial Complex. It outlines in detail the extra spending on weapons like the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, which doesn't fly very well, can't be a good strike fighter, according to the Rand Corporation. So a lot of weapons are replicated and duplicated, and some don't even work. They have to be grounded, they have to be reworked, and they cost far more than what they were contracted for. And that's busting the country's budget and not going to strengthen us, especially in the areas that we need it, like infrastructure and education and healthcare.
Peter, how much of a fight do you think there will be for President Trump to get these plans through, to get them passed?
I think that in some of these areas, probably most of them, he's going to get it passed because the Republican Party agrees with him on this. In a few other areas, he might not get what he wants in one or two areas. But most of it, I think, is going to get passed, unfortunately, because the Republicans have the majority in both houses. And it takes a simple majority to pass the budget and the president to sign it. So the rest of the country has to be bracing for these kinds of cuts and I would say negative movements toward dismantling the American, what little's left of the welfare state, which is very important. I want to mention one thing more about that. There is in our Constitution the requirement that the government has to promote the general welfare. It's in the preamble of the Constitution. It says we the people establish this government to, among other things, to promote the general welfare. That's the general well-being of the people. The Trump budget only promotes the well-being of the top 1%, especially those who are invested in the military-industrial defense contractor complex. And it doesn't help children in schools. He's also going to privatize many public schools, according to his budget. And his Education Secretary, Betsy DeVos, wants to privatize schools, put in school vouchers, take money out of public schools and put it into charter schools and private schools. This is not the way to go for a great democracy in a country with a large economy.
Okay, Peter, thank you so much for talking to us. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Well,